Welcome to the Tennis Pulse. The heartbeat of tennis is back. Serving up fresh voices, bold insights, and a lot of fun. Today on the Tennis Pulse, we get personal, deeply personal. We unpack why we started this show, our childhood tennis memories, and the moments that made us laugh and cry. A lot of crying. It's raw, nostalgic, and straight from the heart. With your hosts and tennis fans, Lindy Subtle Mulvestenhagen, Federica Fanari, Will Bonmossanon, Zani Subtle, and our Tennis Pulse expert, Charlie Steeb. Stay tuned because the Tennis Pulse starts now. So I just want to start with how we all got into tennis. I will start with myself. That's my sister, Zani. My dad taught us to play tennis. He was a basketball player. And he said to us, I don't even remember how old I was, but he said to us, I'm not paying for a university. Your mom and I are not paying. You're going to get a tennis scholarship. And that was it. And then we were literally playing tennis every day.
Every day. Yeah.
I remember even playing tennis with gloves on and it was like snowing. And I was like, what is the point of this, Dad? Yeah. He was really the King Williams before King Williams, because we were older than the Serena and Venus.
Nice, a little nicer than King Williams.
Maybe
he was a little less intense.
And less Grand Slam titles.
Yeah. We didn't make it that level, sadly.
We got our tennis scholarship, but we didn't make it. In fact, it's so funny because my dad met Charlie and was like, Earl, I don't understand. So you coach these girls? Did you forget to coach the backhand?
We have no backhand. That is correct.
We have no backhand. That is correct. And then I called my dad and I was like, Dad, tell me a funny story about tennis. And he said, oh, that's easy. It was actually your first tournament. So Zani was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. She was playing in the under 10s and I was 14, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then
13, 14, yeah.
13, 14. And my dad said on the way to the match, we were driving in the car and he had to pull over because Zani was like, Dad, I have to throw up. He pulled the car over on the middle of the highway. Zani threw up. Then I threw up.
Oh my God!
I remember exactly where we were.
Really?
Yeah, I know exactly. We're going to Perimeter. There was a country club there called like the North Perimeter or something. I can't remember the actual name, but I remember the tournament place, and I remember where we parked off the side of the street for me to kind of to throw up, and then you to follow suit just after that. But yeah. We can't remember if he won or lost that match, but
I called Dad and he said Zani actually beat a 10-year-old. She was 7 years old. She beat a 10-year-old. But the funny thing is that she was like, he said you didn't know that you won the match.
Oh, that's true.
They were like, Zani, you won the match. She's like, oh, I did?
I had no idea the score. I kept looking up to my dad. I'm like, well, what's going on? He's like, 40 love. I was like, oh, yeah, 40 love. And then I won the match and they were cheering, excited. Hey, yay. And I had no idea. It was so great.
Will, how did you get into tennis?
My dad was a huge tennis fan growing up.
Oh, really?
I didn't enjoy playing at first, but I played because his idol was Michael Chang. And that was like the light to see a person of like a representation of an Asian person playing tennis. So that was really heartfelt to see that. I started playing at the age of 13. And I progressed to get a lot better, but I think it was after high school where I walked onto the tennis team in Hawaii. Where I really enjoyed it, but I didn't realize that I was playing Division II, and I was playing against all these ex-pro tennis players who were like 6'3", 6'5", and like I was the smallest guy, but I was quick. But I always kept getting donut hold, like 6-0, 6-0 each freaking game. So it sucked. I did not enjoy it, so I got burnt out, and I didn't play for a long time. I came back to it at maybe the age of 25, and started enjoying it again. Yeah, that's my journey of it at the moment, but. I enjoyed playing it because I love the dopamines. I love the rush of it all. And I kind of taught me the sense of independence and like how to work on myself mentally. Because, when you play tennis, you're out there by yourself. So you're really competing against yourself overall. But yeah, that's my journey. It's been fun.
Federica, how did you start out in tennis?
Well, I started when I was, I think, 6 or 7. In Sardinia with my brother in group lessons, and I really loved it. And both me and him, we got quite good. In my club, I progressed to be the best, and I didn't have people to play with. So they thought they would send me to another city. So our first family commitment with tennis was to drive to this other city 1 hour there, 1 hour back, and stay 4 hours for training, 2 hours of tennis, 2 hours of athletic training. And it was a lot. It was 3, 4 times a week, plus a tournament in the weekend. And then these two clubs started sort of a little bit fighting and competing, and they had different ideas for my future. Some wanted to send me to Florida, to Nick Bollettieri back then, and others wanted to send me to Rome, and my mom would keep me at home, of course. But during that time, I was 12, and I injured myself. And
What was the injury?
it was actually just a foot injury, and I was supposed to be out for a month. But let me tell you, that month was heaven. I finally discovered the life of an almost teenager without all the time in the afternoon after school of tennis. So I started hanging out with friends, going out, and I didn't feel all the pressure that I had. I had long car rides, and sometimes my parents wouldn't say a word. Like back then, mental pressure or mental issues wasn't really a thing. We didn't know that much, and I really suffered from it. It was too much for me. So I said, you know what? I'm not gonna go back into tennis, and that's how I broke it. And everybody was disappointed, but then they had to respect my decision.
How old were you at that time?
I was 12.
12, yeah. No,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And I didn't touch the racket because it was too painful, to even play casually.
Yeah.
So all I did is when I went to US as an exchange student, and I was 17 as my senior year, because in US the sports in college are so important. I started playing for the team there.
What was the team?
Yeah, where'd you go to
Federica.
Salem, hold on, Spartans.
The Spartans.
Spartans.
And where'd you go to, where was your school? Which state?
In Salem, Virginia.
Oh, amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got to the semifinal of states, where I lost also due to an injury of my elbow. But that was totally crazy, because one of my funniest moments actually of tennis was I haven't played anything from 12 years old until 17. So I go there totally unprepared. I just do it and it was so good. So once I arrived to school, and it was high school, I was learning the language, etc. And as I walk in, boom, ba boom, all the band, everybody was waiting for me, and apparently I made it to the MVP, and there was the celebration because I won the weekend before. I was so overwhelmed. I wasn't ready for it. It's so crazy how they hype you up in US for
Yeah.
just
They
playing
love-
tennis.
Danielle Collins.
I
Great.
really felt like a superstar. It was incredible. And I was like, all of a sudden, in a second, I was like almost embarrassed. But after that, I got a scholarship, full ride scholarship in the States, which I decided not to take, to go back to Italy. And
What school was that?
it was, hold on. It's actually a famous one. Hold on.
Division 1 or?
Does it start with an S?
Yes.
Stanford.
Stanford.
Yeah,
Yes,
Stanford,
Stanford.
Girl, she forgot it's like one of the biggest universities that she got a scholarship to. So yeah.
Yeah, but
chapeau.
also there was some issues with the documents that I needed to get from Italy, and I didn't push it because I was like, it's gonna be my destiny. Like whatever is gonna happen is gonna be my destiny. I was not excited about staying there forever, so because that probably I would be there by now. So I decided to go back, and by going back, I put the racket there on the wall and didn't touch it again. And this, I repressed the love I had for this sport so much so that I couldn't even watch tennis on TV for the longest time. And then my son started playing football. He wasn't really great at it. And then he decided to switch to tennis, which made me very happy. And when he did that, I thought I needed to lead by example. And I picked up the racket again. And for me, it was just going into therapy, you know.
That's why I say we're wearing warm, cozy sweaters right now.
Not fun. No.
Charlie, how did you start into tennis? I mean, Charlie obviously made it way beyond us ever could imagine making top 20 Davis Cup.
We can all
champ.
Google that.
Yeah. Wait, it was
That's
top
the
11, number 11,
difference.
right?
Yeah, please tell us, how did you start in tennis?
My parents started playing in end 70s. Like tennis became popular in Germany, and they started to play. And we went to Bavaria to go to this that time famous tennis center, and they took lessons. And then I started picking up the balls and maybe play at the end 5 or 10 minutes. And at some point, you know, the coach said to my parents, "You better stop and let him play." Makes more sense. And then I started to play when I was around 7, 8 years old. I was also playing more soccer at the beginning, doing both until I was 13.
Yeah.
And then decided to, I got better, of course, and started winning district championships, and then under 14 German championships, and then, of course, stayed with tennis. And when I was 16, I told my parents I would like to turn pro, and they allowed me to step out of school after high school, and said you can do it for 2 years. If it's working out or if development is good, you can stay with it. Otherwise, you have to go back to school, or how you say in German, you have to learn a profession
Skills.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I stayed.
Amazing.
It was interesting for us because, we grew up in Georgia. It was like America, even tennis back in the day was a really white sport.
White sport.
You know?
Privilege, yeah.
And our dad found a tennis academy where there were only Black players, which was really interesting to see because we lived in the burbs. So he would literally drive us into the inner city of Atlanta. We would play in this camp, and then we would go back. And I think the guy...
Shout out to Coach Wilkinson. Yeah.
Coach Wilkinson.
Yeah. He passed away, sadly, now. But.
Yeah. And that was really revolutionary for us. If you really think about it, it was a camp or a training center to where we would only see people that looked like us. Which was,
I had that issue. I had the same scenario as well too. I played in inner city as well too. My coach was African American, and my whole team were all like Asians, African Americans, Mexicans, just all over, and they were all so good, which is great to see that.
It's really motivating.
It was moving to see that. But I also went to a previous school before that, and it was all white school. I would never be able to play on their team because they had stacks and stacks and stacks. They had 75 players on their varsity.
Wow.
So they would switch players to different schools. But I went to an inner city school that was not gifted, but I made the team. I was number 2 in singles. So I played, but I understand this scenario as well too. You mean having to see representation of you and play with a group where you feel comfortable rather than being outcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think TFO's girlfriend also mentioned that during the Australian Open, Ayan,
Yeah.
how she was kind of calling for people to say I know you don't see many of us in this sport, and even in this, even as fans. And she was like, please, don't feel like it's such an elitist sport. Come to the matches. Because the more that they see us and the more that they see that there's different people that love the sport, it's better for the sport.
I mean, there's challenging as well too, especially coming from an immigrant family, playing tennis as a whole is a very expensive sport. Having to find trainers, buying equipment, and new clothes constantly, and it's a dedication in itself. And to have people who actually back you up. I actually had a coach who actually knew that my parents didn't have money, and he would give me lessons for free because he believed in me that much. But then he my mouth was running all the time, so I get in trouble a little bit. But yeah, it's a very expensive sport.
Very expensive.
Yeah, and it's hard.
What's the funniest moment you remember?
Can I tell my tennis story?
Yes.
I'm did I get
Oh,
skipped
yeah.
here?
No,
Actually,
no.
wait, no. It's actually...
I thought it was a deal with your sister.
Me too. Me too.
It's
She
actually
told her
really
first,
good because that she's saying something because Zani did not
I
want
know.
to do this episode. She was like, no, until the last minute, I don't want to do this episode because it's trauma.
Yeah, it's
and
a bit
I'm
of trauma.
shocked that now that she wants to share her story because Zani was on the same level as Serena Williams. She was like 7 years old beating people that were 10 and 12 and yeah. Go ahead.
You're gonna cry for me
I
now.
know that your eyes are tearing up. Are you okay?
No, it's. I mean,
Honey. Oh. Oh my God. Guys.
This is a sweater
I don't know if we should do this.
No,
my
really,
God,
because
you
she was
okay?
really there. She was really there, and it really hurts me to see it as a sister because this was her dream.
Yeah.
So in a way, the tennis pulse is like fulfilling the dream, but not. So it must be quite painful to be like in this. Yeah. Sorry, didn't.
No, it's hard.
We need Oprah right now.
These are all
Felicia,
tearing
we
up.
need you.
Jesus.
No, I think it's really hard because I really wanted to go professional. That was like, my fondest, most beautiful memories. My dad putting a racket in my hand at the age of 4, and I remember it was as big as me, and I was just like, I just fell in love immediately with the sport, and I guess it was also, I became really good really fast, and I surprised myself, I surprised everybody around me, my circle of supporters, and so in my head I was like, all right, I'm good at this. It gave me so much confidence. And yeah, I was my first tournament. I was 7. I won my first tournament at 7 years old, and
She beat a
playing
10-year-old.
like 10-year-olds, playing 3 years up, and there was just so much promise and so much like highlight on me and then within the family. And Dad made such a huge effort to travel all around the U.S. to every tournament possible to really get me out there. And my favorite player growing up was Zina Garrison. I really idolized her because our names were so similar.
Zani and Zina, they were
Zani
calling her
and
the
Zina.
little Zina.
Yeah. And I made papers with her. I was in a newspaper article with her, and they said Zani, the next Zina. It was like this. For me, it was just going pro was everything. And the biggest setback was, obviously my dad was really tough on me, and that really played a lot on my mental capacity of trying to go further. But when I was 12, Lindy at the time was 18, and our mother had a really tough decision, and she moved to South Africa to start a career there, and that was at like the highlight of my career, I would say, my young budding career and in tennis. And I had to make a decision. Do I go live with my mom and basically stop tennis? Because in South Africa, it wasn't. I didn't have the right resources to make it big there. Or do I stay back and not have the time with my mom? And at that time, I was 12. I really needed this mother figure, and I made the decision to kind of quit tennis, which was, to this day, it's hard to even talk to Dad about tennis because it's such a painful moment for everybody.
Then why am I crying more?
I don't know.
Even my moment. I think I wanted to be in your box.
Yeah, but you came back and then you went to university.
Yeah, but
Started
South
to play
Africa,
again,
that opportunity was great. I got to play field hockey, a team sport, which I was exposed to, and I loved team sports. I thought that was really incredible. So got to learn a whole nother sport. And then, then I came back and I said to my dad, listen, I'll get a tennis scholarship. I'll work hard to at least get the next best level, which was to get a tennis scholarship. And I worked hard. I came back at 15, and the players I had played at 12, they already had now surpassed me, and they were going to that next level professional circuit. And that was really hard, but I had to stay focused on my next goal, which was to get a Division I scholarship. And I did. So
Where'd you go?
I went to Syracuse. Wasn't my first
did?
choice. I did.
That's big.
It was big.
That's a good school.
Yeah.
I know
Orange
Point Sport.
County.
That's a good school.
Yeah, it was a
That's
great school.
What was your first choice?
The problem was I came back too late. I was going to play an Orange Bowl, which Charlie knows that tournament.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, what year did you graduate?
2000. Yeah. No.
Oh.
Yeah, 2000.
Oh wow, you were a senior. I was a freshman. Oh wow.
So and so I went to Syracuse, played 2 years there, struggled a lot with injuries and
But you
and
were
just mental.
you guys were top then though.
We were top. It was
Yeah,
tough.
but it's not top school.
It was a tough school. It was a top school.
No, I can tell Zani can play. We can play.
Yeah,
we can
I
play
see it.
together, and we can really play together.
There's a lot of trauma though. When I do play, I'm like Charlie, forehands only, and we don't play any points at all. I'm like, yeah.
Points
As
here,
soon
no.
as he's like, let's play to 10, I'm like, eh.
Yeah. I don't know
Just
why.
hit-
It's beautiful to
Just
watch
hitting.
you play.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank
your
you.
technique is so clean.
Thank you.
That's true.
Beautiful, really.
I need to
But
see
you know, I
play.
live vicariously through Charlie. I mean, being with him in the sense, it's like I'm
Well,
always like,
long
so how
time
is it like
over.
on the pro tour? What did you do? What's the locker room like? What did you guys talk about in the locker room? He's just like, geez, every night, like after dinner, it's like Q&A with Charlie about the professional tour.
We can use some of
That's
those
true.
episodes. Why don't you just put a camera there and you can just use, can create us some content for us.
Did
So,
you,
I mean-
did you finish the 4 years at Syracuse?
No, I stopped after 2. I got injured, and then I actually was burnt out. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
whole mental
Yeah.
breakdown
Why do you
I
think
had.
that's such a
and-
big thing for tennis players as well too? Like it's such a mental game. Like you're
Yeah,
kind
is
of.
it like that
it's
in
like you
every
burn-
sport that it's so mental?
I think tennis is more of the mental game because
Yeah, you're alone.
yeah, you're alone. As I said, you're alone. You're battling yourself, and like I think when you are playing well, it's so much enjoyable. But when you're playing down, it's just like you're done. Like you don't want to play it, and like I even have the fear when I play against my friends. Like I don't play tiebreaker because I am so competitive. If I lose, it'll just take on my whole day. It'll just drain me. Because I hate losing at anything. Like, I
Which
hate
is
it.
actually good.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
good. If you scout a player who hates losing, that's great.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
Yeah.
Too, because you take it so serious if you lose, but it needs to be there to really have the fire to win the next
sure.
time. But it's you have to love competition.
Yeah, for
Well,
I
sure.
think
yeah.
that's what you really
That's what-
and
I
that's
think-
that's one thing and what keeps you motivated and in the drive.
This has been traumatic, actually. Okay, this has been a very traumatic episode. I'm calling my therapist as soon as I leave this building, and I see you guys on the next episode.